There are towns that disappear slowly over time. The factories close, the young people move away, and the stores shut their doors one by one until nothing is left. But the town we're talking about today didn't fade away like that. It simply stopped answering. There were no distress calls, no warnings, and no official evacuation order, just a sudden, deafening silence. And that silence has stretched on for decades, a true mystery that still troubles those who remember it. The town itself was small, quiet, and unassuming. It was the kind of place where everybody knew each other by name, where life moved at a gentle, predictable pace. It had a post office, a single diner, a school for the local children, and a church whose bell rang faithfully every Sunday morning. Most of the families had lived there for generations, making their living from farming and local trades. Their lives were built on simple, dependable routines. Nothing about this place suggested that one day, everyone would leave and never, ever return. According to the records we have, the last normal day was a Tuesday. It was a day like any other. The children went to school, their laughter echoing in the hallways. The diner served its usual lunch specials to the regulars. The mail was delivered on schedule, and the local gas stations logged regular sales throughout the day. A check of the power grid showed no failures, no interruptions. The weather reports for that day and the days following showed nothing but clear skies. There were no storms on the horizon, no wildfires, no reported accidents. That night, lights were seen on in several homes, just as you'd expect. And then, nothing. The lights went out, and the town fell silent forever. It was weeks later when a delivery driver, on his regular route, finally made the discovery. He noticed something was wrong immediately. The town was too quiet. Cars were still parked in driveways and outside houses. He found some front doors were even unlocked. Peering through the windows, he saw that the diner's neon sign was still flickering faintly. Inside the homes, things were even more eerie. Tables were set for dinner, as if a family was just about to sit down. Clothes were left hanging in closets and folded in drawers. All the personal items, the photographs, the trinkets, the things that make a house a home, remained completely untouched. It looked as if people had just stepped out for a moment, fully intending to come right back. But no one ever did. The authorities were called in, and a full-scale investigation began. They combed through every house, every street, every building in the town. They found no bodies. There were no signs of violence, no evidence of any kind of struggle. It wasn't a crime scene. Investigators then checked the financial records. Every bank account was untouched. There were no large, sudden withdrawals, no unusual transfers of money. People hadn't packed up and fled. This was confirmed by the fact that all their vehicles were left behind. So were their pets, found waiting patiently in homes and backyards. This ruled out any planned relocation. It ruled out a secret evacuation, and it certainly ruled out panic. People simply do not leave their entire lives behind like this. As the investigators dug deeper, they started noticing details that made no sense at all. Strange, inexplicable details. For one, all the clocks in the town, in every single house and building, had stopped at the exact same time. They weren't broken, and their batteries weren't drained. They had just stopped. Phone records were even more bizarre. They showed a number of outgoing calls that were initiated right around the time the clock stopped, but none of them ever connected. They just went dead. Radio logs from a nearby station showed brief, powerful bursts of static with no identifiable source. And perhaps the strangest detail of all, the church bell. That bell required a person to manually pull a heavy rope to make it ring. Yet, days after the town was confirmed to be completely empty, multiple sources reported hearing it ring out just once in the dead of night. No one could ever explain who, or what, rang that bell. As word got out, residents from nearby areas started coming forward with their own strange stories. One man, a farmer who lived a few miles away, swore he saw lights moving around inside the empty town weeks after the official search had ended. Another person, a ham radio enthusiast, reported hearing a faint, garbled transmission late one night that seemed to be coming from an abandoned building. The authorities, with no physical evidence to back these claims, had to dismiss them as local rumors. But the strange reports never completely stopped. They just became part of the local folklore, whispered tales about the town that went quiet. Eventually, the official investigation wound down. With no leads, no evidence, and no answers, it reached a dead end. No official cause for the disappearance was ever announced to the public. The town was simply labeled uninhabited on government records and was quietly removed from most modern maps. There was no memorial built for the families who vanished. No final report was ever released. All that remains is a dusty file in an archive somewhere. Marked incomplete, the years passed. Nature began its slow, steady process of reclaiming the streets. Weeds pushed up through cracks in the pavement, and vines crept up the sides of the houses. Paint peeled, and windows shattered, left to the mercy of the elements. But some things never changed. Observers who visited the site over the decades noted that metal objects, like cars and farm equipment, didn't rust as quickly as they should have. Electrical meters on the sides of some houses would occasionally, inexplicably, move. And every so often, someone brave enough to pass through the abandoned streets would claim the same unsettling thing, that it felt like the town wasn't dead. It felt like it was waiting. This story is just about a strange disappearance. It's about something deeper. It's about routine, community, and the fundamental assumption we all make that tomorrow will be just like today. For anyone who grew up in a small town, this story feels deeply personal. Because places like this, built on trust and familiarity, once existed everywhere, and when one of them vanished without a trace, it felt like it took something with it, a way of life, a sense of permanence we all took for granted. We like to believe that history records everything important. We trust that if something truly significant happened, some great event or tragedy, we would know about it. But history only records what can be explained, what fits into a neat narrative. And sometimes, entire communities can vanish without leaving a single answer behind. Not every mystery is solved. Maybe not everything is meant to be. Perhaps some mysteries remain not to frighten us, but to remind us just how fragile our sense of certainty really is. Today, the town still stands, or what's left of it. It's quiet, empty. There are no signs telling you what happened, no warnings to stay away. There are just silent buildings that once held lives, laughter, and dreams. And a question that has echoed through the decades, a question that was never answered. What happened to everyone? Thanks for watching. If you find these kinds of unsolved mysteries as fascinating as I do, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation into the unknown. See you next time.